Okay, this is going to be a quick demo of subscriptions for models to allow multiple players to share the predictor models. So right now I'm looking at my higher level character, Yorian, who's a rogue, and he's got a fairly built up model at this point. I've played around a little bit in testing, so about 4,500 events tracked, and that is constantly being updated as I use it. So the more that I use stuff now, using a few different abilities. Now if I switch back and look in here, it's gone up by about 10 new events, and that identifies new sequences when it can. But once you get to a large number of events, what typically happens is that the likelihood of particular outcomes from sequences starts to increase, making the whole model a little bit more accurate. So right now, I mean, I'm only using this model myself, so the stuff that I'm predicting is stuff that I have used and I've generated myself, which, you know, it might be useful for finding out like how whether or not I'm sort of consistent in the way that I'm playing, and I can sort of tell that from this accuracy measurement over here. But I'm not really going to learn anything from playing things exactly the same way all the time. But what I can do is that I can switch over to my other character here. So this character is, you can see up the top left, level 6, so about 80 levels lower, or about 78 levels lower than the character that I was just playing. And she has much fewer abilities, although she is the same class, so anything that Yorian does is going to be sort of relevant. So I can look in here and I can see I've got this, I've got 84 events tracked, so I haven't tracked very much. I've reset it a couple of times. I've only identified 4 sequences, and it's partially because I've only got a few abilities that I can possibly use, so there are only so many possible permutations of, you know, using these abilities in different orders. But I can actually go up now and I can start a fight up and I can see what happens. If I use these things a couple of times, then I should start to get... Yeah, so I do have a model that does work for me, and you can see 100% of the time in the situation I've always used Sinister Strike, so I can use it just like you would expect from the other model. I've got the sequence length set to 3 right now, but it might not necessarily be that useful, as, you know, since this is my new player or new character, and I imagine that I'm a new player who's never really played the game before. I'm just sort of fumbling along. I don't really know what the best usage of these abilities is. So what I can do is, right now, rather than using this model that I'm using, which is my player model, is I can look for a new one. So there's nothing in there at the moment, but I'm going to subscribe to the expert, or who's going to be my expert. So what's happening in the bottom left now is I've asked for a subscription from Yorian, my other character. If I switch over here, I can see him playing here. So you can see Predictor has added a subscription. And what's happening right now is I'm basically dumping all the information that's going to be relevant for this character. And again, if it looks like lagging a little bit, it's mostly because I'm running multiple game clients as well as some recording software. But so I'm obviously dumping quite a bit of information. This is because I have seen quite a lot on the other character, and also a lot of these abilities aren't available for my character here. But that's fine, because they might become available once I start to level up later on. So once that starts to sort of taper off, it has a lot of information to send through. Then I'll be able to take a look at something. I'll be able to demo some examples of this. So this is going to be useful for me, because as a sort of new character here, I can sort of see what the expert does and see how it ranks up or matches up against what I'm doing, and if I'm doing things incorrectly or, you know, not non-optimally, I suppose. So I finished the dump now, so I can check again, and sure enough, I've got my model here, or I've got this player model for this character over here, which I subscribe to. So with sequence length at 3, I've got 230 sequences recognized. So I say, okay. And now I'll start playing this guy. So this prediction is still for my old setup here. So you can see now I've already got these new predictions coming up, and these are based off of Yorian's usages. And you can also see that unlike my abilities that I was using before, these don't add up. So if I add 17 and 17%, obviously these don't add up to 100% possibility, and the reasoning for that is that Yorian has a number of other abilities that he could use in those situations which aren't available to me yet because I haven't leveled up. But that doesn't mean that there's a higher chance that I would use stealth, for example, in this particular situation. It just means that I don't have the ability available to me right now. So it makes sense to say, there still is only a 17% chance that Yorion would use this, but you can't. So maybe think about using something else. And you also notice on the right hand side the accuracy of everything. The rank accuracy measures whether on when I used an ability how highly it was ranked in this list here, and the likelihood accuracy measures when I use an ability what its predicted likelihood was. And so the likelihood accuracy is actually always going to be really low when you're using an external model like this. If assuming that you have less abilities than the external model created does. And one final thing that I'm just going to show off briefly. I'm going to fight now, so I better finish this off. So now that I've subscribed to this model, I'm actually going to receive updates constantly, which means as Yorion plays, any changes that he makes is going to be reflected here. So if we look at the chat log, we see the last thing. I'll leave a little bit of an empty line there so we can see what's going to happen. And so I'll switch over to Yorion and I'll start playing again. And so every time I use abilities on Yorion, it updates my own models constantly. So it's constantly updating the likelihood of any of these events. And as it's doing that, if I switch back over to the character, it's sharing those updates with any of the subscribers. So not only is the model for the broadcaster getting more and more accurate as they use more and more abilities, but the subscriber model is being updated to reflect that as well. So yeah, that's subscription models and how that's working at the moment.